We're four friends who live across the globe
and share a love of Bon Appétit's YouTube channel.
So we came together to bring you our thoughts on what BA serves up.
And try our hands at recreating their dishes.
Welcome to Pod Appétit.
Oh man, we gotta go fast on this one.
They are spoiling us.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
I'm Justine.
Hi, I'm LJ.
Hey, it's me, Meg.
So I wanted to start just real fast. Did we have any culinary adventures of our own this week? I had zero, so that's my news.
Well, it's a huge heat wave in London at the moment, and I know whenever we complain about heat waves in the UK, everyone in America is like, you don't even know what a heat wave is. But I cannot stress this enough. We have no infrastructure to cope with any kind of heat, so I feel like it's that much more difficult because of it. So I've got no AC in my house and it's like 100 degrees tomorrow, so I'm just sweating in my underwear basically. And so all I have been making is just salads, because the thought of even turning on the stove or like doing anything is just like insane. So I made a really nice salad a couple of days ago with some leftover potato and baby carrots that I'd roasted when it was cooler. And I kind of chopped them up with some feta cheese and some herbs and some arugula or rocket on the side. That was a really nice salad. And then I had a really nice leftover duck breast with some bacon and like boiled egg, kind of like Niçoise inspired, but it was basically like whatever I had in the fridge. So yeah, it's just been salad central over here.
I love it. It's 97 degrees right now and I'm wearing like a long sleeve sweater. I'm sorry, LJ.
I wish.
So yeah, these weeks I've made that parsley and walnut pesto, which was good, interesting. Yeah, I made vegan Cheddar Bay biscuits, which were amazing.
They looked amazing.
Yeah, your pictures. Whew.
Oh, thank you. I made those flourless chickpea blondies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave them to my roommate. I was like, guess what's in them? And she was like, I don't know, tofu or something? I don't know. I was like, chickpeas. And she was like, no. I'm like, yeah.
Crazy.
Tastes just like cookie dough.
Justine continues to trick her friends.
That's all I'm about. One thing I do want to note is that I attempted to make and failed at making some stuffed shells, and I got like really frustrated with myself and like just really disappointed, and I was complaining to Amanda a lot of like how terrible I was doing.
I was getting text messages. I'm like, it's okay. That's part of cooking. Trial and error.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, Amanda was just like, you're still in your, your testing phase, you just haven't worked out the recipe yet. And then, like, the best thing ever, she said, you're just Claire on day 3, you'll get it. And I was like, So, I just wanted to shout out Amanda, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I also haven't had many culinary adventures. I've just been making meal kit recipes, which aren't exciting enough to share with y'all. And I was in San Diego for Comic-Con for a good part of last week, so wasn't doing much cooking then.
No, you were having awesome adventures, though.
Yeah.
I was having fun seeing Lin-Manuel Miranda twice with my own eyeballs.
I cannot tell you how jealous I am. So jealous. You were literally in the room where it happened.
I literally was.
All right, are we ready to get started on the videos for this week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
On the menu for today, we have Brad and Claire Make Donuts Part 1. It's alive. Carla makes coffee creme caramel from the Test Kitchen. Recreating Jamie Oliver's Insanity Burger from Taste. Pastry chef attempts to make gourmet pop rocks. Gourmet makes season 1, episode 21. Professional chefs blindly taste test cheese. Part of Test Kitchen Talks. Claire makes cherry cobbler from the Test Kitchen. Christina makes buckwheat noodles from the Test Kitchen, and Pro Chef tries survival cooking for the first time. So we have 8 whole videos to break down this week, guys.
That's a lot. Let's crack on.
Yeah, so let's get started with Brad and Claire Make Donuts Part 1.
In which they don't make donuts.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's been 2 weeks since that almost. Where's part 2?
Yeah, I really thought that they would drop part 2 sometime.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I thought this episode was delightful. I absolutely adored Brad and Claire's dynamic. They're just two totally different styles of chef. Like, Brad is completely, like, I don't know, trial and error, like a little bit kind of sloppy around the edges, like muddles through, whereas Claire is very methodical and logical and knows all the right words for things and how to pronounce them, whereas Brad's just like, sure, whatever. And I just loved seeing them play off of each other like that. Like, every time Brad said something wrong, she'd just look at him and like eye roll or just be like, don't you mean this? And it just really, really made me laugh. And then after I watched that video, I had a sexy dream about Brad, so I don't know what that sounds like.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Did it include tips for ladies?
No, it was just him being him. It was very funny.
Did he answer a mystery call?
No, he didn't, but I just thought that was so funny. What do you guys do if someone calls? Are you like I must pick up, or I have to? Yeah, I never answer
am
my phone.
absolutely Team Claire. I could not agree more with what she said. I think her tip to never answer the phone was spot on.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
If I don't know the number, I'm like, you go to voicemail.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was important, they can leave a message.
Yeah.
I also really enjoy this team up of Brad and Claire. They're one of my favorite sort of pairings of this kitchen staffers. I call them the dream team in my notes. And they've got great chemistry. Like you're saying, how they play off each other is really entertaining. They really remind me of siblings. It's like Brad is the excitable younger brother and Claire is the older sister who always has to keep an eye on him and make sure he's not making too big of a mess.
Oh, that's so perfect.
Yes.
If I have one critique of this episode, I would say it had too much of the previous float test recap.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I've seen that episode. It's like, if you haven't seen it, I'm like, you're just going to be doing the same thing again. I don't need to, I don't know. It was like too much of a recap. Like, it just kept going where I wasn't sure when they were cutting in and out back to where we were in the present, because it's mostly all in close up until you see their wide shot and they're wearing their like Christmas sweaters, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, it was a little confusing editorially.
I also legitimately could not tell that the starter in this episode was floating until they said it's floating.
I did really like how we got like the crossover with Claire making Starburst though, because it was like,
Yeah.
like in Back to the Future 2, where they show shots from another angle. It just reminded me of that. Like, it was like, oh, I've been here before.
Yeah. It's like
It was
the
really
time
funny.
turner in
Yeah.
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
It was great.
But
it was really good.
Then you're also like, oh, that's why Claire was extra stressed
Yes.
in Starburst.
Yeah, because every 5 minutes he was like, hey, Claire. And she's like, what do you want, bruh? Like, I'm trying to do something else.
I liked
Yeah.
the progression of her. Yeah? Yeah.
I have to wonder if it would have turned
Yeah.
out better if he hadn't been interrupting her the whole time.
Aw. But, you know, he's also her biggest cheerleader
That's
in
true.
Gourmet Makes.
Yes, for sure. I love his pep talks, and we'll come on to that in the Gourmet Makes episode we have to discuss today. But yeah, I love his pep talks for her. I think he does sort of buoy her when she's at like her lowest ebb.
I also really liked that this was a callback to classic It's Alive. Just the first few seconds of this episode were like every single It's Alive trope that I love. We had half-sour saffets. We had Brad congratulating himself on saying something correctly, and then Matt giving him an A+ and labeling him as a talented host. And then swatting the animated fly. I just loved it. I was in
And
it
this and
completely.
the one shot, one kill.
Yeah.
Oh my god! A thing pop up that was like, did you know there are 6 sequels that were direct to video? And I was like, actually, I had no idea that Sniper was a movie that existed until I watched It's Alive. But I do know who Tom Berenger is because I've seen Platoon.
With your million movie podcasts, you can maybe, incorporate some of Dad Brad's movie database into your other
Oh
shows.
my god. I wrote in all
Yes.
caps, my fave, Dad Brad's movie database.
Yes.
And the way Claire was like, does this come up a lot? I'm like, oh, Claire. Yes, it does.
Claire, have you ever seen the show?
Actually, that's a good question. Do you think any of them watch their shows back, or do they just let it go out and they're just like, just move on?
I know Claire doesn't.
Yeah.
Claire does not want to see herself anywhere.
Some people hate it, don't they? Yeah, like they don't like listening to their own voice and stuff.
There is a point in this episode where it just goes all downhill. Like, just halfway through, like, as soon as he brings up the 23andMe conspiracy and
gosh.
the Illuminati, like, there is no getting back on track at all.
And that, again, the conspiracy theory about 23andMe is literally a conversation I've had with my husband.
Is it? Oh. So
Yes.
not only does he talk to you about cars all the time, which Brad also did in this episode, he lectures you about 23andMe.
Yeah, and he's really into conspiracies. He listens to conspiracy podcasts. And the 23andMe thing, like, my uncle did it, and Jeremy went on a whole thing about, like, no, they're going to track you and they're going to use it for other things. And so as soon as Brad started doing it, I was like, more proof. Yeah, his name is Brad, but with cars.
My favorite part of this video was Brad saying, I'm a jar 2/3 full kind of guy.
That graphic, though.
I think I have to adopt that.
I feel like that's why me and Brad that's why he's like my persona for this podcast, because I'm a jar 2/3 kind of girl. So that's good.
And we're all looking forward to part 2 now.
Yes.
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 So moving on to the next one, we have Carla makes coffee creme caramel.
Justine, you were teasing that you had thoughts on coffee milk.
Yes. You know, anytime anybody ever says coffee milk, I get very excited. This calls back to our last recap episode where I taught everybody about pizza strips.
Yeah.
Coffee milk in Rhode Island, or it might be the official drink. I'll check
Ooh.
that.
Oh.
States have official drinks?
Yes.
Wow.
And it's essentially the same as like chocolate milk or strawberry milk. You can get a coffee flavored syrup and add it to your milk, and it's sweet, and it doesn't really taste like coffee. And in fact, I had this a lot as a kid. Like, this was one of the choices of school milks in elementary school. Take your
What?
regular milk, your chocolate milk, or your coffee milk. Like,
So there's
Wow.
no caffeine in it, I take it. It's just like a sugary flavor. Yeah.
yeah, it's just a coffee flavored syrup, like a coffee ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh.
Although I always think coffee ice cream is quite an adult taste profile to have in ice cream. Like, as a kid, I wouldn't have ever been like, give me that coffee ice cream. Like, that would be something that you'd have if you were like at a restaurant and an adult choosing something. For kids, it was always like strawberry, chocolate. But maybe that's just like if you're in Rhode Island, that's not the case. All the kids want the coffee ice cream.
Wow.
To your point, LJ, I thought it was interesting that Andy and Carla were bonding over their childhood
Yeah.
coffee ice cream experiences, because I don't think that would have been me personally, but
No. I mean, I love it now, but I'm just surprised that it was a childhood thing for them. That's all. It's just quite a sophisticated flavor to like as a child, I suppose. I really liked the look of this dish generally. I love coffee flavor. Yeah, I was like, Carlo, I'm going to need to buy your book because it looks like you've got a lot of good stuff in there.
I thought
Yeah.
this looked beautiful too. I love how she described it and how she wanted it to get to a sort of mahogany color. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's just so lovely. That's a perfect descriptor. I'm not sure if I would actually make this, only because I love the taste of flan, but it's one of those sort of consistency things that I don't love. It's a little too slimy, a little too mushy for me.
Yeah, I was surprised that creme caramel and flan were just the same thing. When she was like, one's in France and one's in Spain. And I was like, huh.
I'm not
Had
sure
no
that that's
idea.
true, because I questioned that. Although, as we all know, I seem to know little to nothing about European food. But I'm pretty sure flan that I had in school, because when I was growing up, I went to a school that did like school dinners. One of the desserts they used to do was flan, and I don't remember it being anything like this. It was more of I'm pretty sure it had like pastry or something around it as well. So I don't know if that's just not even flan and they just called it flan. But yeah.
That's not like any flan I've had, but
Me either.
I've always had the kind that's this consistency.
Okay.
I had a question for you guys. Have any of you used a real vanilla bean in cooking?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
I'm with
I
Justine.
actually
No.
do have a jar of sugar that I put a whole vanilla bean in, and it flavors the sugar. So I sometimes, if I'm feeling fancy, I'll use my vanilla sugar if I want that flavor in something.
You guys can't see it, but Justine's making a fancy head bob.
Oh, you have extra sugar.
I do. I have a special jar of vanilla sugar. Yeah. And you can also do other sort of flavors if you want to flavor sugar and stuff. Like there's, I think I've done lavender before. That's worked quite well with like dried lavender.
You said you had done it too, Meg. Have you done like the thing where you scrape out the bean?
Yeah, I have. I believe I did it for making vanilla ice cream once.
Yeah.
Yeah, just imagine the extract flavor, but actually fresh. I don't know. It's like canned tomatoes versus fresh tomatoes. It really is a big difference. It's so good to have those little vanilla beans in there.
Specks. Yeah, it is good.
One of my notes that I had in this when Carla, well, a couple of things. Like, I feel like we have the return to like Carla being willing to improvise like she did with the banana bread. Like if something happens that goes wrong, she's just like, that's fine. Like when the lid wouldn't fit on the pot.
I love like, that.
This is the story of my life. And so she was just like, well, if this happens to you, this is what you can do. Like, it's no big deal. Like, just kind of like rolling with the punches. And then when she was talking about how you have to do like the slow walk to the oven because she was doing the water bath thing. Yeah. I have had to do that so many times. And the skill that has helped me is marching band. Because I can roll step. And so I know how to walk without like my upper body moving at all.
Yeah, sounds like it. I also felt like I learned a lot from Carla this episode because I've always wanted to make caramel but been too scared that it looks too difficult or that I'll screw it up. But I love that I learned that lemon juice helps, which I had no idea about. And just the way she explained it, she makes me feel more confident about giving it a go. Like I'd be able to do it. It's not actually that difficult. She was just very sort of explained everything kind of step by step and to be patient and all that kind of stuff. I think Carla does a good job of that with most of her recipes.
I found the lemon juice tip very useful too. I'm really surprised that never ever came up on the Great British Baking Show when they always have problems making caramel.
Yeah. I also really enjoyed that she described this as a breakfast food because
it's eggs.
It's eggs.
And coffee.
Eggs and coffee.
Makes perfect sense.
So, recreating Jamie Oliver's Insanity Burger from Taste. Justine is pumped.
Yes. Chris, give me a call. This is great. I loved it.
Yeah, Justine has developed a crush on Chris through this video.
It's okay. Amanda, you know how you have a thing for beards?
Yes.
For me, it's glasses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he put those glasses on. Whew.
They were good glasses. They were like really like directional, like the clear frames, and he looked really good. The pug blindfold did it for you too as well, Justine.
Oh yeah. Sure.
It took me like 2/3 of this video to figure out what was on that blindfold. I was like, what is it? What is that, a pug? Is it not a pug? What's happening?
I really enjoyed how sassy Chris was at the originator of the episode. He was really going at it for all the like name brand chefs, and I was like, you're gonna feel so embarrassed when you find out who it is.
Yeah. He's like, it's very middle of the road.
Yeah. Middle of the road, but like pushed off a cliff. But then when they revealed that it was Jamie Oliver at the end, I liked how he like tried to dial it back, being like, I really love Jamie Oliver, I really like what he does. And I was like, yeah, you claw that back because you've sassed him a lot.
Immediate apologies.
Yeah, he changed his tune pretty quickly there.
Yeah, it was really funny.
I have to agree with Chris though, when the whole idea of lettuce on the bottom being upsetting and him calling it the layer of sadness, I fully agree. Lettuce does not belong on the bottom of a burger.
It's just silly. It just wilts. It goes to nothing. And when he was watching the video at the end and he was hearing Jamie Oliver being like, you know, you don't lose all of the crunch. And he's like, yes, it does. The crunch does go.
Yeah. The crunch does go.
The sad boy burger, as they put it.
I believe Chris on this. I'm sorry, Jamie.
There were so many quotables in this episode. I also really liked when he said, this cheese is so insipid. It's just such a Chris thing to say, right? No one else would describe cheese that way.
The whole cheese
And then,
thing.
of course, name that fucking cheese.
Name that fucking cheese.
The whole cheese thing cracked me up because I don't know, is Red Leicester common in the US?
I don't think so.
No, because I had a note to ask if you have ever eaten it, because it's not a thing here.
Yeah, so Red Leicester is a really common cheese. It like originates from Leicester in the UK. So we have it in like just supermarket sandwiches, like it's everywhere. It's like like cheddar, like it's another really, cheddar's like probably one of the most common cheeses you'd buy, and then Red Leicester would be a close second. So I was really laughing because obviously Jamie Oliver being a British chef, he would have chosen Red Leicester as like a easy to find kind of cheese for people to put in his recipe. So I was like, I don't think he's going to get it. And he didn't. And so it was really, when he heard what it was and he was like, Red fucking Leicester. Like, oh, Chris.
Oh man, Chris moments that I loved in this besides his glasses. I love that he just scoots on his, what do you guys call it? Shopping cart.
Yeah.
Yes, I wrote that too. It's adorable.
So cute.
Oh yeah, I want to take him shopping. I also kind of love that he has to like struggle to hold back his like creativity and fanciness because he's like, this is not how I would make it. You know, I would chef this the fuck up. You know, like.
Yes, that's funny.
But also when you guys watched the first one, right, where he did the
Beef Wellington.
Gordon Ramsay,
Yes,
yeah, the
the
Beef Wellington.
Yeah.
So this has like a second episode in the series. I like it was a new edition of like the grading scale, right?
Yeah, the percentages.
Yeah.
But I was questioning the science. Like, how do those numbers, where do they come from? This isn't scientific.
I think they were a little squishy, a little subjective, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, I also liked his spooning the mustard taste test.
Yeah, that was fun.
I like that he talked himself out of the yellow mustard. That was his very first guess, and then he was like, no, I'm going with Dijon.
Yeah.
See, that's where he's gotta like, oh, this is what I would do. I would do like a nice fancy Dijon.
Yeah. When he tasted the one that he called Bernie, and he was just like, ugh. And it's just like really grossed out. That is my reaction to all mustard once it hits my mouth. I know this is Amanda being picky, but seriously,
You know what?
like,
I used to not like mustard at all.
if I take a bite of mustard, instantly I start gagging.
It wasn't until like a couple years ago, maybe like 5 to 7 years ago, that I could actually like taste mustard and like it. And I like mustard now. Like my taste bud completely changed from like not liking mustard at all.
Yeah.
You just gotta try more mustard.
Yeah.
You know?
We just got to bring you 5 mustards on a spoon and make you eat it.
Name that fucking mustard, Amanda.
Oh God! It just every time I'm just like, because I was like really on board for this burger. Minus that to me was like, especially because it was just like put a layer of mustard on the patty itself underneath the cheese. I don't know.
I think I would like it. I think the more offensive thing is the lettuce under the burger.
Yeah.
The mustard I'm
agreed.
not so worried about. But yeah, I get that not everyone likes mustard though. What I wonder is if the next kind of figuring out a recipe from taste episode, whether it's going to be another British chef. I think they're like making it harder for Chris choosing British chefs who will use like recipes or ingredients that he may not be as familiar with. I think they should do an American one.
I'm just glad that they're not really trying to throw him a huge curveball. Like he said, he was afraid that maybe he would get like an Impossible Burger or something that wasn't really meat. I think that would be kind of unfair and just sort of trying to make fun of his super tasting. So I'm glad that they're not doing any of those let's trick Chris type of things. They're just making it a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I really loved how nice Andy was to him at the end.
Yeah.
Me too.
He's like, you got it, it's almost perfect. And I was like, oh, they're best friends.
Yeah,
They
I love
hugged
that they
each
hugged
other.
it out.
Yeah. It was so cute.
And I was really proud of Chris too. I think they gave him a score of 90%. And I was like, yay, Chris.
He did really well.
He's like, I was always a B+ student, so I'm happy with the A-. I did have one thing that I was like a little confused about, and I am not like a super taster the way that Chris is, but he instantly, as soon as he started like eating it to taste, he just broke it down. Like he never just took a full bite of the burger.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's part of like getting the taste of a burger is doing the full bite altogether. And that was the first thing Andy did when he was comparing them, was he took a full bite of both to compare like all of the flavor things together. And I just thought it was a little odd that I expect that Chris would definitely break everything down bit by bit, and he wrote that cool little like graph where he was like breaking everything down, but he never just took a full bite of the burger, even in the second tasting.
Maybe he did it off camera.
Yeah,
maybe he ate the whole thing off camera.
He wants to taste the parts of it, you know, and when you're tasting the whole thing, you don't get like that, oh, there's subtle hints
Pulling
of
things out, yeah.
hot sauce in the mayo or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the layer of sadness.
The layer of sadness.
Pastry chef attempts to make gourmet Pop Rocks.
Yay!
Gourmet makes.
This is our first gourmet makes.
I know. I love gourmet makes so much. I think it's the thing that all of us got us hooked, right? Gourmet
Yes.
makes
Yeah.
that series.
Yep.
Yeah. Although I felt bad for Claire that it's Pop Rocks because she didn't want to do it.
No. Which, LJ, are there Pop Rocks in the UK?
No. So we don't have them called Pop Rocks. We have something called Popping Candy, which I think that's the brand name. It doesn't come in all the flavors. It's just like sugar flavor, I guess, that popples and crackles in your mouth. But I get it. Like, I understand what it is.
I feel like this episode was not so much about making Pop Rocks, but it's about the friends we make along the way.
Yeah.
The test kitchen staff is like so supportive
They
of
are.
Claire. Like, this episode was like 20% making Pop Rocks and like 80% everybody being like, you can do it, Claire. Like, and Emil just like fucking loves Pop Rocks.
Oh my god. I kept getting distracted because I thought Emil was so cute.
My favourite bit of the whole video was when Chris comes running in with his jacket on being like, I got here as soon as I heard.
I got here. I didn't even take my jacket off.
I didn't think anyone would listen to me.
And I just love that throughout Claire was just like, I don't blame Chris. This isn't Chris's fault. He didn't really say
They're
that
like,
on video.
"Well, we did it because Chris said it."
And they show it in slow-mo, like.
And then she has that one moment of weakness where she turns on him and she says, Chris, this is all your fault. Not only does the rest of the test kitchen spend most of the episode cheerleading Claire, but they also give her a lot of outs. They're just like, this is close enough.
Yeah,
this is
that'll
perfect.
do. Yeah.
Cuisine is good. So I love that not only were they supporting her and building her up, but also giving her excuses to stop the experiment early because they all knew that she didn't really want to do it. And I thought it was pretty funny how they're all like, no, it's fine. And Carla is saying that essentially she should just rip off the Band-Aid. She said, more pain, less time. And I love that Claire was actually encouraged by that.
Yeah. Because I would be like, that doesn't sound like a good deal for me.
No.
I liked the way that Carla came in and was acting like a mom and was like, just reframe the way that you're looking at this and like while being encouraging.
Yeah, I had that note as well that Carla was being such a mum. The other thing that I liked about this episode is that I learnt a lot about how Pop Rocks work because I've never really thought about it that hard before. And my favourite description was Chris when he said, "My mouth is fracking with CO2."
Yes.
And I was like, that is what it is. That makes sense. Yeah.
I learned that Pop Rocks aren't vegan.
Oh yeah, of course.
The lactic acid, was that what
Yeah.
was in it? Mhm.
Yeah.
So no Pop Rocks for you. Yeah. It did kind of, the final product that she got to really reminded me of honeycomb. And I think she said that at one point
Yeah.
as well. And I love honeycomb. So I was like, this looks great. I think you did a great job, Claire. Well done.
Yeah, I liked how at one point, like the pink one where that got like really big and
Yes.
Emil was like, that's the closest one. And she was just like, no.
No, it is not.
So as a kid, I definitely heard the urban legend that if you eat Pop Rocks and drink soda, your stomach will explode.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of you heard that as well.
Yeah, we had a similar thing. Yeah.
I didn't until this.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Because I wrote it down and I was like, I'd never heard that.
I feel like that's something that, I don't know, someone passes around in a playground, it gets passed down from like an older sibling somewhere to spook the younger kids, and you're all like, oh my God. Yeah.
It was also good for dares.
Yeah.
There's even a Green Day song called Pop Rocks and Coke.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, there is.
Apparently a bad Green Day fan also.
It's a B-side, don't worry.
I was really excited that they were going to do a green apple flavor, and then they didn't, and I was really bummed because I love green apple.
That's my least favorite flavor, so I wouldn't have liked that.
So in my closely watching to see like the evolution of things, I noticed neither Brad nor Chris had like a little introduction in this. Like they didn't have a pop-up saying who they were.
Yeah.
And what their position was at Bon Appetit. Like neither one of them had that in this video.
You know, they've made it. Everyone knows them.
They just know.
We
It's
all
Brad
know and love
Chris.
them.
Yeah.
They don't need a lower third.
No.
Yeah, I think this will go down as a classic episode because apparently the fans were clamoring for it. And I also really loved the weird bubbly mass she made on day 2 that they dubbed the weirdest thing she's ever made.
Was that the thing that looked a bit like the goo from Ghostbusters 2?
I thought it looked like a neural parasite from Star Trek, the original series, but yes.
Same.
Sure.
I thought it looked like a weird giant cookie. So
Yeah.
I would not eat that cookie.
the one other thing I wanted to mention is how all of them were like, so maybe we shouldn't make a bomb in the World Trade Center?
Yeah.
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 Good
yeah.
idea.
The kind of industrial way of making pop rocks sounds like a procedure. Like you're never gonna do that in a home kitchen. Like not in a million years. So Claire definitely
that's
did
exactly
the
why
best.
she didn't want to do it.
Yeah, but I think she did the best she possibly could with that challenge. She did really well.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next up we have professional chefs blindly taste test cheese.
We did this, guys. I mean, not us personally, but like BA meme culture has created this.
They've officially gone mean.
They've gone meta.
I was so excited for this video. As I texted Justine last night, I'm very passionate about cheese.
Yeah. Well, I'm very passionate about the fact that Chris mentioned something in one video and then it becomes its own video.
And then he comments in our Instagram post of us mentioning this. This is way too meta.
I know. It's all too much, guys. It's all happening.
I like when the guys put on blindfolds, they start making sexual references to being blindfolded.
Yeah, Brad was like, kinky.
Yeah. Just a regular Friday night.
I was really rooting for Chris in this one because I wanted him to redeem himself following the Red Leicester incident.
Yeah.
So I was hoping he would win. I guess technically he won, but as we know, it was a 5-way tie for first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this video because I learned some new cheeses that I don't know. So I didn't know about it Oaxaca cheese?
Oaxaca.
Oaxaca.
No idea about that. I don't know what Velveeta is. I never had it when I was in the States. We don't have it here.
We're all shocked.
All the Americans, what?
You can explain that to me. And
It's
then-
just because there are commercials about it.
right. What do you mean? What is it? Like, is it like a manufactured processed cheese?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it is a main ingredient in one of my signature side dishes.
But everyone was so down on it. Is it not nice? Is it?
It's not
It's
nice. It's
very-
mostly oil
yeah.
instead of dairy.
Oh, so it's vegan?
No.
No.
It's just really bad cheese.
Okay. I'll avoid. And then the other one I didn't know was piave. I'd never heard of that either.
Me either.
I learned something. That was good.
I've definitely had Oaxaca on Mexican food. It's pretty common to put it on top of Mexican food. I don't think I've had piave. And I will say in defense of Velveeta, there is a time and a place for Velveeta. It makes a really good cheese dip.
Yeah, that's what
Oh.
I'm with, is a cheese dip.
So it melts well.
It
Yes.
melts really well.
It tastes funky.
It does. It does. I think, in fact, LJ, I think it's called Velveeta because of the velvety texture, that it's so melty that it is for like dips and that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not named from a place. It's named for the process.
No, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So it's like artificial processed cheese for very specific melting based dishes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very famous for like Velveeta mac and cheese when we were kids.
Oh, okay, okay. So is it like really bright orange, or is it
Bright yellow.
Yellow.
Okay, like radioactive.
I mean, like I said, I use it in a side dish. It's a cheese dip, and it's basically so it melts really easily. But I put a bunch of other stuff in it, so I don't know. People love it, even if it's really processed.
One thing I liked about the Velveeta thing is that I think it really illustrated just how knowledgeable all of these chefs are, because every single one of them was like, oh, this is processed. This is way too soft.
Yeah.
I don't like this. And it's like, even with a blind taste test, they demonstrated that they do have a lot of know-how. So I appreciated that.
Brad finished up though by saying, it's good though.
But then Brad tasted Gouda, which is like a really high-end cheese, and thought it tasted cheap. So, you know, you win
I feel
some, you
like
lose some.
Brad was just very suggestible. Like every cheese he got, he guessed like the previous cheese.
Yeah, that's true.
I love how Brad would throw down the cheese when he was done, like he was dropping the mic, but he was way overly confident. He only got one right.
Yeah, he was. Although Gabby did the worst. She got none right. And
poor
I felt
Gabby.
so bad for her.
That would be me.
But at the end where she was like, next time I'm going to go home and read about cheese. If you tell me that we're going to do this, I'll go home and look it up.
I like that she was gonna do homework.
But I also feel like reading about them won't help you know what they taste like.
Well, when she said she was gonna go home, I thought she was like, I'm gonna go home and taste a bunch of cheese. And then she said read about cheese. I was like, all right.
Oh, I felt bad for her. But yeah, it was cute. She was close on the last one, but she ended up going with the wrong cheese.
Yeah.
I thought this was a fun video. Like, it's a different style of video, but yeah, I loved that it had come from something that we all knew had just happened, and so that was like a big moment for all of us, and the rest of the audience too, probably.
Speaking of style, they technically shot it different because they shoot each video with 2 cameras, and this time they used the B cam as an overhead camera.
Oh, I didn't notice that. You're right. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, to show the cheeses that way.
Yeah, and for a minute I was wondering like if they were just like insert shots, but no, those were actually their hands if you look at like their bracelets and their rings and stuff.
Yeah.
So they shot the whole thing from in front of them and overhead, and those were the 2 angles that they had to work with. Besides using like the front for like punch-ins, which is easy to do.
Yeah.
No, I think that's interesting because I think that Bon Appetit has really distinguished itself by not just doing overhead shots, whereas so many other food channels are like, here's an overhead shot of hands making food. So it's interesting to see them using that technique sometimes.
So one of the things that broke my heart in this video was when Molly was like, get the goat cheese away from me.
Oh, yeah, I love goat cheese.
I love goat cheese too.
Yeah.
So whenever I go to Grandpa's Cheese Barn, because yes, in Ohio, there's a place called Grandpa's Cheese Barn, Jeremy and I always come home with like goat cheese because it's so, so good.
Yeah, I love goat cheese. I don't understand people who don't like it, but you know, people are people.
I don't like cheese.
That's
And that was
true.
before
That's fair.
No, before being vegan, I just didn't really care for cheese. I'm not a cheese person.
Or talking about that, poor Emil, lactose intolerant, but still had to try all the cheese.
Right?
I feel like he should have got a pass on that one. Like, sorry guys, this is going to make me ill. I
He
need
did
to
great
go.
though.
He did really well, yeah. And
Yeah,
he's a
he
smoker
did.
too, so, you know.
All right. Any more things about cheese?
No, other than I now want some.
Next up, we have Claire makes cherry cobbler.
Oh, poor Claire. Just poor Claire in sense that she got there and was just like, how do I do a regular episode again?
I'm not being tortured for once.
I loved this episode and this recipe. I love cherries. They're one of my I don't like many fruits, but the fruits that I do like tend to be like berries and that kind of thing. And cherries are, I've always been a big fan of cherries. So this was like right up my street. If I'm going to have a fruit dessert, it will be like a cherry one or a berry based one. So I really want to make this. And I really, really liked her tip of those biscuits and the like cheap version of lamination. Because you guys all watch GBbo, as I call it, Great British Bake Off. And like lamination is such like they don't make it look difficult, but it looks like a process that takes forever to do. And this just looked really simple, really easy, kind of got a similar result. And I was like, that's something I can do at home. Like, I'm not going to sit and make a croissant dough, but I'll sit and do that. Like, that's fine.
Totally. You're right, because like, I don't know, nobody knows this, but all four of us have also obsessively watched Great British Bake Off. And in that show, they covered lamination so many times. Like, as soon as I saw Claire putting the butter into the flour, I was like, oh, she's making a flaky, dough. Like, she's folding it over. I'm like, I know this process. I'm like, I've never made it. I've never done it, but I know this process.
I was like, oh, that's called lamination. And then she was like, this is called lamination. And I was like, thanks, Great British Bake Off.
That was exactly my experience too. I was really excited for this video when I saw it pop up in my feed because she had posted this recipe on her Instagram. I don't know how long ago, but I was like, ooh, that looks good. So LJ, I don't know, maybe this could be one of our first back-to-back episodes because I just bought the ingredients today to make this.
Oh my God.
So.
I did not.
Row down.
Oh God, I want to go to San Francisco now. This is so good. I want to eat it.
I'm really excited about this. I also love cherries. I love biscuits. My go-to biscuit recipe is a buttermilk biscuit recipe. So I'm really excited to make this cream biscuit. I've never made it with cream, but what's not to like about heavy whipping cream?
Cream and butter, like... hello, yes, please.
She put so much butter on top. Yeah, it has everything I love.
Sorry, Justine.
I'm like everything that would murder me.
I know.
Although, like I mentioned earlier, I made drop biscuits for the first time and that were vegan and they came out great. My crumb was fucking perfect.
Yeah, I think those would go well on like a cherry version, I think the fruit filling was vegan, right? It's just the biscuits that are a problem in this recipe.
This is something that could be converted.
Yeah.
It would take a lot of science and things, but it could be done.
I think it could be done. But yeah, this is another dessert that I like because they said that it was also acceptable for breakfast. So I'm like making a list of fruit dessert / breakfast recipes.
I feel like that was the theme of this week, like desserts for breakfast.
Yeah, I'm actually planning to make it for breakfast. So I fully approve of that.
Ooh. I like that we got another like sugar in the raw on top tip. To like make it really look like shiny and crystally and brown and everything. I liked that tip.
Yeah, I like that because it's like one of those things I think I've mentioned before that I'm like, oh, if I'm only going to use it for one recipe, I don't really want to buy the ingredient. But if they continue showing like you can use it here, you can use it here, I'm like, oh, that makes me want to like purchase it more because I can see how what's the word?
Versatile?
Yes, because I can see how versatile it is.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of buying things for recipes, do any of you own a cherry pitter?
No.
I do now.
Oh my God.
I've always just done it with a knife. Like, I thought the plastic bottle and the plastic straw thing was hilarious because it
That
just
was
did
so
not
funny.
work. And also, as she was doing it, she was like, plastic. More plastic. I guess this isn't that great. Like it all just dawned on her on camera.
I know. She's like, look at how eco-conscious I'm being with a biodegradable straw and a plastic water bottle.
Yeah. But
It doesn't even work.
When she resorted to like the knife method, I was like, that's what I've always done. Like I've made a dish with the duck that I was telling you about at the top of the episode that I roasted. We made like a cherry sauce for that because it goes really well with duck. So I've been eating quite a lot of cherries because they're in season at the moment, hence this episode being put out. But yeah, I've always just used the knife method, but maybe I should invest in one of those pitters that you'll have to tell us how it worked out, Meg.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I'm like, I want to try the thing with the wine bottle and like metal straw instead, but Justine is
It seems
not about
disastrous. It seems like so many parts will just go flying all around your kitchen.
Glass will smash. Like,
That's
don't
fair.
do it.
Yeah, the front of you will just look like a murder scene.
Yeah.
In this one, we also get Gabby and everyone else dragging Andy for his too tight shirt.
Yes.
And when she was like, was it your dad's at the end? I was like,
I
So
feel like
funny.
Andy was like, I look like hot shit today. Like, he was like, you can
Aw.
see
I mean, he's
my
not
arms.
I thought he looked great, but yeah, it's funny how they all teased him.
It's always about Andy's shirts. I didn't know that almond and cherries were a common thing to put together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bakewell tart.
Mhm.
Do you guys have Bakewell tart in the US?
Wait, what?
Bakewell
tarts.
tart.
What?
No?
Bakewell tart.
Oh, I've heard of such a thing. I don't know what it is.
They've made it on Bake Off before, so you might have heard of it.
I've
For
watched it on
that.
Bake Off, but not.
So that's a really common dessert here. It's like a sweet short crust pastry with like an almondy, I don't even know what you'd describe it. It's like an almondy type mixture, like sweet pasty type mixture. And then there's like a cherry jam and like an icing on top. And it's delicious. But yeah,
That sounds wonderful.
Almond and cherry go together like peas and carrots.
Gosh, I hate when my peas get in my carrots.
They go together like Brad and Claire.
Aw.
I'm really interested to see what other fruits this would work with. Because I know they said blueberries, but like peaches are
She
in
said
season.
stone fruits.
Yeah,
Yeah,
stone
peaches
fruits.
would be great. Plums
Peaches.
even, maybe.
Ooh, I love plums.
Yeah, I would love that. Oh. Moving on, our second to last video is Christina makes buckwheat noodles. And this is the first time that I had seen Christina have like her own video.
It's her
Yep.
debut.
Yeah, I loved it.
Me too.
I thought she came across really well. I loved hearing about her take on cooking because obviously she's clearly experiencing Korean cooking and Asian cooking. So that's like her background. So it's just good to hear like that take on things and like the stuff like I don't salt my noodle water. I don't keep my pasta water. Like I don't tell anyone. But that's not how I was taught. Like I just enjoyed like an alternative point of view and experience
Me too.
from cooking. It was good.
Yeah.
I was actually confused a little, and I saw some people write in the comments that like this is called makes buckwheat noodles, but she's not making the noodle. She's preparing the
Right.
dish, which we don't get the name of the
Yep.
dish, except she says it's basically cold noodles with kimchi and eggs, but it's also a riff of another chef's dish. Like
Yeah.
there's a part of me that I'm like, is this whitewashing? I don't know.
Yeah, like just give us the name of the dish. Like it's fine. We can handle it.
Exactly. I was also confused by that. They should have just had the name of the dish as the title, as they do
Yeah.
for all the other videos. And yeah, if they're giving us a non-Eurocentric perspective of food, then they should expect the audience to, learn some new
Yeah.
dishes and some new terms. And I do think that was maybe a bit of a misstep on their part.
Yeah.
Especially since, as you said, Justine, they never even say the name of the dish in the episode itself.
Yeah.
She has it in her Instagram profile, but it is in Korean.
Right. So they don't.
So I was just
translate
like-
it. Yeah.
I would love to, I don't know. I lived in a Filipino household for a while, so I am actually a bit more versed in Asian dishes. And it did remind me, the whole like pasta water thing, like whenever I'd have like spaghetti, like I had this conversation with them before, like when they have spaghetti, they still call the pasta noodles. Like they use the term noodles for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it reminded me of that living
Yeah.
in an Asian household.
I love Asian food, and this was a dish where I was like, I really want to try this because it's like, again, right up my street with all that. I think I talked about this when we had Rick's Mexican pozole last time. I love things where you get to like put all different toppings on top and like anything that's got kind of a broth feel. And I could just imagine what with it being like super hot weather at the moment, this kind of cold Asian inspired brothy noodly soupy thing, I was like, this is exactly what I want for lunch right now. Like it's exactly perfect. I think I'd really love to try making this.
I thought it sounded delicious too. It reminded me of one of my absolute favorite Japanese dishes, which is zaru soba, which is also cold buckwheat noodles. The accompaniments are totally different, but the base is, again, cold buckwheat noodles. So I would definitely try this as well. I really enjoyed this video overall. Christina's always so supportive in the Gourmet Makes videos, especially. It was really nice to get her as like a solo act. And I loved her cold open about long noodles signifying longevity and and how her parents wouldn't let her cut the noodles, but then sort of ironically she almost, choked to death on them as a child.
And then she was like, and now, since I know that we're all going to hell anyway, like...
Right?
The world is ending.
We're all gonna die.
It should have said Christina Nihilist like it did for Claire on one of the other videos.
Nice.
I loved it. It was so funny.
I feel like, I don't know, I keep going back. To me as a filmmaker, I could tell that she wasn't comfortable being on camera quite yet.
She did look nervous.
Yeah.
And it felt like she wasn't talking to us. She was talking to Tommy, the director. Like, she's showing him all the steps. So, I mean, I hope that they give her more and maybe, like, team her up with Carla, who I think Carla is fantastic at being a host / guest / best friend to you, the viewer,
Yeah. I hope they keep her, do some more videos with her because, that's a hard... I've done small bits, like, to camera for things before, and it is a really hard skill to learn to not talk to the person behind the camera or the person interviewing you, and just... It's not easy. So, it's going to take her some time to warm up to it, and I hope they let her do that.
Yeah, I feel like she was more comfortable when she was, like, talking to Brad or talking to Andy or
or talking to Emil, her best friend.
Yeah.
Emil is so her best friend.
Yeah. I thought did you notice at the end when he was trying it, he took like all the noodles in one bite? It was like such a big bite of noodles and he just slurped it down. I was like, he's going to have a long life.
And he was credited as editor at large in this episode. So this must have been filmed after he like moved away.
Oh.
Yeah, this was 2 months ago.
Oh yeah, you detectived the date, Justine. You like freeze framed and was like, they filmed it in May.
Well, they keep showing the slate. Every time they show a slate, I like to look at it because slates have a lot of information on them that people might not know.
Yeah.
I was also really impressed with Christina's knife skills. I thought that she really cut up those scallions really prettily. And I also love that she mentioned the little snack pile that she had going for herself, because that's one of the best parts of being a chef, right? You have your little snacky snacks while you're cooking.
For sure, like chef's treat. I also liked that because I love, whenever I watch a video and one of them is chopping something, I always watch quite carefully because I'm always keen to improve my own knife skills because I've never been trained professionally and I kind of know a few of the basics, but like I was like, so that's how you cut cucumber into tiny little sticks. Cut your scallions on the bias and they look cool. Like, all these little things that you like file away.
Yeah, when she's cutting the cucumbers, I was like, that'd be good for when I would make like a sushi roll. You know?
Totally.
We also got a very memeable Andy face in this one.
I can't. It just gives me like bad flashbacks to student films using repeated reaction shots. So
you don't like it?
Cool.
I thought his face was funny. I also thought that when Brad came in to talk about the kimchi exploding and they kind of cut into It's Alive, that was really funny.
An episode within an episode.
Yeah.
I also feel like we got the return of Dad Brad when he was like telling Christina to be careful, and then he was like, "You've got some kimchi on your jumper." I'm like, who calls a shirt a jumper?
I think it was a jumper though, like one of those one-piece body thingies.
Okay.
I thought the other thing that was interesting about this recipe was the fact that the like star ingredient or the thing that she felt made it all work was putting the ice on at the end. Because I was just like, I would never think to do that if I was making a cold noodle salad. But that's what creates this kind of cold, delicious kimchi broth at the end that you like slurp down. And I was just like, this is something I would never know about or think to do.
Oh, can I admit something?
What?
I've never had kimchi.
Me either.
Oh, I
It's so
really like
good.
kimchi. It's really nice.
Yeah, I love
Looks
kimchi.
so terrible.
You're probably better off trying it in something rather than, do you know what I mean? Like chops up and put in a dish rather than it being like the main, like just eating it out of a jar or something.
And also, a lot of kimchi uses fish sauce. So
Oh
I'd
yeah,
be
you need
careful
to be
if I were
careful
you,
about that.
Justine.
Yeah.
It's always wary going to a specific like Asian place because so many dishes are made with fish sauces. But
Yes.
fortunately, a lot of vegan restaurants are Asian style food. So
Great.
There you go.
Well, I recommend kimchi. I love it.
I really want to try the kimchi juice in a Bloody Mary. That's like my new thing that I want to try. Because I love Bloody Marys. They're one of my favorite cocktails. So when they said that, I was like, oh, yeah.
All right. Then moving on to our last video. Pro chef tries survival cooking for the first time. I had issues with this video.
really,
Yeah. So, first of all, I didn't feel like it should have been called survival cooking. It should have been called something like cooking with fire or something like that, because Molly didn't do survival cooking the whole time. Like, only the first part of it was, and then the second part was a barbecue place, and then the third thing was like Carla's backyard, and like none of that is actually survival cooking. So I felt like this was titled wrong. And then I also felt like it was a rehash of like It's Alive Greatest Hits, but with Molly instead.
Yep.
yeah,
Ooh.
it did cover a lot of what Brad went over in the It's Alive camping.
Yeah, and I would rather watch all of the It's Alive camping again than this, because like when I was
Whoa.
like
Hot takes.
I know
Amanda's hot
seriously like I had such a hard time watching this through the second time to take notes, and I was just like, ugh. Until Carla showed up, I was not engaged at all.
Wow.
I really like Molly, and I love watching her. I get what you're saying in that it's treading over old ground for the channel as a whole. I had issues with the survival, like, bushcraft bit at the beginning, mainly because I also have no camping as part of my brand. So
Me
the
too.
idea of being in the
Same.
forest, making fire, getting my hands dirty and having nowhere to wash them, like bugs, like I just was like this is not interesting.
Yeah.
Why do I need to know these skills? I do not. Like, tell me what the recipe is and I'll recreate it in my kitchen, but I'm not, this kind of gimmick doesn't work for me. When she got to the barbecue place and to Carla's place, I got a lot more interested because I was like, smoking meat is something that I want to learn how to do, and you can kind of do in a kitchen with equipment. Obviously Carla's garden is amazing, and I now want to build an oven in my backyard, like when I have one. So that bit was a lot more interesting. But the first bit and the bit that they've titled the video as, I was like, as much as I enjoy Molly and it was kind of funny, the setup of it, like being bundled into a van, I just was like, this isn't useful information to me.
Oh.
It's interesting because Gourmet Makes is so entertaining, right? But it's not useful information to us either.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
there is definitely something missing from this video. I would agree. I don't know if I can quite put my finger on it, but it wasn't entertaining enough on its own, and it also was not instructive. I would agree with your comments so far. I also like Molly. I like her personality a lot. How you were saying you weren't entirely engaged, Amanda, I think perhaps part of that is that Molly felt maybe a little tired when she was recapping what she had done. She seemed like very excited when she was in the moment, but then when it was the sort of retrospective part where she was reflecting on her experience, I think she was maybe not as high energy as she had been before.
I think part of it too is the survival guy annoyed the hell out of me.
Shane won? I love Shane.
Shane won.
Shane one annoyed me so much.
He was such a sweetheart.
I was like, this
Yeah.
should be Brad instead, and that would make this.
no.
Yeah.
Brad doesn't know as much. I'm a Brad fan, but Brad doesn't know as much.
Okay, I want to say what my thoughts are.
Yeah.
So I feel like what you guys are all struggling with is perhaps the execution of the series. And first of all, I'm curious, did everybody watch the pancake art episode that she did of this series?
I did.
I actually haven't seen that one.
No.
I liked that one a lot more than I liked this.
Actually, I thought this one structurally was better than pancake art, but we can not talk about that since not everybody has seen it.
Yeah.
But basically, so what I feel like what they were going for in this episode, and this only came to me the second time that I watched it through, was that she's learning skills. And she's taking the skills that she learned in the wilderness and then applying them in a restaurant setting, and then taking those skills and then applying them to your own backyard. So I feel like that's what it's trying to dictate, is that you can just take these skills that you never think that you would be able to learn and apply them to your own home cooking. Now, I like the structure of the episode, but I'm not sure yet as a series what to expect. Like, I can't in my head picture what the next episode would be, because like I said, I don't think that they fully nailed the execution of Molly learns a specific skill and here's how she applies it in different settings, which I think is what they were going for.
Which I think, again, is why this shouldn't have been titled survival cooking. It should have been like cooking with fire or something like that. Because then it would make more sense. Like, okay, she's using it here, and then here, and then here. Like, progressing that skill.
You make a good point, Justine, because at the end when she's at Carla's house, we see Molly chopping wood, and we see her using the little pinhole technique to stoke the fire, and then she's also teaching that to Carla. So I appreciate you saying that. I like that perspective. I think maybe with that in mind, I would enjoy this episode more watching it again, especially having it go full cycle of her not only learning these skills, but then passing them on to someone else.
Yeah, I think, like you said, we're more used to it being more about the end product, being more about the dish she makes, but this is more about having a skill set and applying it in a certain place and learning things that you were possibly afraid of.
Yeah, I get that. I just feel like I don't need to go into the woods to learn that.
No, I agree with you that I'm like, secondhand get really anxious for not being able to have her wash her hands. I'm like, that's why I don't go outside, because you can't wash your hands. Oh,
and
God.
they were just eating with the sticks as chopsticks. I was like, that's not sanitary.
And I was the opposite, going like, oh my God, why does she not have these fucking skills? Because I've gone camping so many times. Like, I did both Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, and so all of this, like, not being able to make a teepee out of wood, I was just like,
that was so funny.
No patience for it.
When he was like, no, let's just take all of that off.
I do really appreciate how game Molly was for everything, even though, like she said, it was off-brand for her. She still got right in there immediately and tried her best, which I really appreciate. And I like how she and Shane 1 really taught each other things. He was so impressed by her meal, which I thought was really sweet. And I like how she built on his survival tips, and I really like how she sort of made sense of his tips and translated it into them being ingredients, moisture and dryness. And I like how she had that chef mindset of like, oh, I just need to think of moisture as another ingredient and another variable like that in my recipe. I thought that was pretty cool.
My favourite application of the skills that she learnt was when she was chopping wood in Carla's backyard and ended up just putting a stake in the ground. She's like, so that's my mark. Yeah. That I meant to do that.
Because, you know, she's afraid to hold an axe at the beginning. But at the end, she was like, bat, 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 you know. She did it. She killed it.
She did. She was great at chopping. But the steaks that she made at the end at Carla's amazing outdoor backdoor oven.
I was gorgeous.
So good. And I love the way she was like food styling them, like the strips of steak.
I'm really curious of what that dip was. That was the eggplant dip.
Eggplant dip. I love eggplant dip.
I wanted to see more.
Yeah. I hope they put up a recipe at some point about that, because eggplant dip's one of my favorites. So anytime I can grab a recipe for it, I'm into it.
I had totally missed the eggplant dip the first viewing too, because it's just like said, and then you see them mix something real fast, and like it wasn't like the process of it at all. See, my favorite part of the video was Carla's cat Peggy.
Oh,
so cute. I was so pleased
Best
we got
cameo.
to see Peggy.
Yeah, I thought she was a star.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice the F-bomb that
I
got
did.
left in?
No, I didn't notice
Love
that.
it.
When was that?
She is talking about the fish gut noises, and she says, it's fucking nursty, and they did not bleep her.
Oh, I remember her saying nursty, but I didn't. Maybe I'm just so used to just swearing around the house.
Yeah.
But then they bleeped her like 15 seconds later.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I like to think of Molly as the Johnny Appleseed of profanity. She's just always scattering F-bombs everywhere
Love
that it's
it.
hard to catch all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your favorite video and which dish would you most likely make yourself?
My favorite video was Brad and Claire make donuts. And surprising no one, the recipe that I'm most likely to make is the cherry cobbler. I better, since I have all the ingredients.
Yeah,
That's amazing. My favorite video was recreating Jamie Oliver's Insanity Burger.
I feel like everyone's being guided by their hearts rather than their heads today.
Whatever. Chris, call me. So there were not many things to choose from this time around to make, and not many things that I could make. I'm gonna lean towards the cherry cobbler as well.
I think I'm the same in that I loved Brad and Claire so much. I just fell about laughing, and I cannot wait for part 2. In terms of what I would make, it's really a tie between the cherry cobbler and the buckwheat noodles. But given that everything is so fucking hot at the moment, I think I'm going to have to go with the noodles, because the thought of even switching my oven on right now is just let's not talk about that, because it makes me feel like I'm going to faint. So I'm going to go with the noodles based on the weather.
Add that ice on your noodles. Cool.
Yeah. And on my face.
I am aligned with Meg. Brad and Claire make donuts was my favorite one. And then I also would make the cherry cobbler. Like, I kept writing how much I want to, like, make that dough, because it looked like fun.
Yeah.
I love that people apparently came into the office to try the cobbler. It must be good.
I think it'll be really good. You have to tell us how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll post it on Instagram. You need to take pics.
I will.
Are you drinking beer, Meg?
It's kombucha.
Oh! Yeah, I couldn't read the label. It just looked like a beer bottle of some. Just like a funny looking beer bottle.
Just trying to make Brad proud.
So we wanted to shout out some of our friends over on Lady Pod Squad who let us know that they were listening this week. Sunni from the Book of Lies podcast. Heidi from Vibrant Visionaries, and she was helping us come up with a fan name for us. She called us the Appetestresses. Is
that how it's pronounced?
I wasn't sure. That's how I copied it down. I wasn't sure. Please tell us how it's correctly pronounced, Heidi. And then she also threw out palpitates and palpitations.
Palpitations.
After Megan said she was wanting us to be the pals.
The Pod Appétit ladies, a.k.a. the pals.
I like that.
That's a good sell.
And then also Katie from TFGIF, she was enjoying listening to LJ's existential crisis about pasta.
I'm only just about recovered.
And Erica from Lez Represent also listened to that and thought LJ was hilarious.
Thank
Aww.
you, guys. That means a lot. It's the best compliment anyone could give me is to say that I'm funny. I try really hard.
And then, Justine, you have a review that somebody wrote?
I definitely do. It's from our friend Diana from Happily Ever Aftermath podcast. She gave us a 5-star review on iTunes called Now We're Cooking. Hang tight, it's a long one.
Ooh.
To start, you have 4 expert podcasters with established movie/TV/pop culture shows. You're already in good hands with funny and thoughtful hosts. It is wonderful that they're stepping slightly off-center to discuss cooking by way of their shared love of the show, Bon Appétit. I don't know the show, and my cooking skills are lacking at best, but that didn't stop my enjoyment. You'll instantly love Amanda, Justine, LJ, and Meg. For the record, I went alphabetically as to not play favorites. Very excited for future episodes. Trust me and subscribe.
Aw,
Thank you, Diana.
that's so awesome.
And we sent her a coaster.
Yeah, that's our giveaway. It's still going, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
How many do we have left?
We've got, I think, 5 left.
That's good. So yeah, just review us, send us a screenshot and your address, and you too can get a coaster.
Ooh. Well, that's all we have on the menu for today. Join us next time for Meg Makes Brad's Pina Coladas.
It's a good one, I hope.
Thanks for listening to Pod Appétit, a Bon Appétit fan cast.
We'd love to hear from you, so find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest at pod_appétit.
And on Facebook at Pod Appétit Podcast.
You can also email us at podappetitpodcast@gmail.com and find all of our episodes on our website, podappetitpodcast.com.
Until next time, the test kitchen is closed.
Hi, I'm April.
And I'm Steph.
And we're from the Thirst Podcast. Do you like pop culture news, reviews, and discussion?
Are you deeply invested in Armie Hammer and Timothée Chalamet's friendship?
Do you constantly find yourself debating which Hollywood Chris is best?
Have you lost sleep over the horror that is Ben Affleck's back tattoo?
Then we're the podcast for you.
Every few weeks, we get together to talk about what we're enjoying or what we're looking forward to in the world of TV, film, music, and more.
You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher by searching for The Thirst Podcast, and you can also find us over on Twitter at The Thirst or on Instagram at The Thirst Pod.
Listen to an episode and let us know what you think.
Bye!